Is your relationship with your guitar old and tired? Have you heard every story it has to tell 100 times, and if you hear another word out of it, you're just gonna barf? Well, my rut busters are here to put the spark back in your romance. And welcome to Music with Marky. Any of us who have been playing guitar for any length of time get to the point where you're playing the same old riffs and licks, chord progressions, whatever it is, and you kind of just get tired of doing the same thing all the time, but you're not sure how to break out of it. And that's what this Rut Buster playlist on my channel is about, trying to give you ideas and ways to break out of those ruts and go in musical directions you wouldn't have thought of before. So this today is the second of the videos I've done where I'm doing addition by subtraction, where you're expanding your musical ideas by making a rule where you can't do something or taking some piece of your playing out so it leads you to think in ways you wouldn't have before. I'm going to roll a couple pieces of music and put this in context, and then we'll come back and talk about it. And this first one here was a bear for me to do. I couldn't get this right a number of times because it's so hard to break this habit that I'm trying to break here. I think it was maybe the 10th or 11th pass that I finally got a recording of it. So let's take a look at the piece of music, and then we'll come back and talk about what was subtracted. So I don't know if you noticed it by looking at the piece of music, but what I did there was I created a rule in which I'm not allowed to play notes sequentially on any string. In other words, only one note per string. Whether I skipped strings or went to the adjacent string, I just couldn't play two notes in a row on the same string. Now, normally with something like this, you think about arpeggios or ripping off fast arpeggio lines, that kind of thing. I didn't want it to be about that. It's not a shredder exercise. It's a musical writing exercise. And so you can see, like, when I had to come up with a melody kind of part there, I did this. And even something like that, I got wrong so many times because when I did the final, I wanted to start the riff again on the one with that note, and that would be two notes on the same string. And when I did this beginning, I wanted to go, two notes again there. It's really hard to break your mind of repeating any notes on or playing more than one note on the same string. When you give it a try, you're going to see it's a good thing to lead you in some other musical directions that you wouldn't have thought of before. Now let's take a look at example number 2 in context, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay, this one was a little bit easier. This had less to do with a melodic sense type of thing, and it's all about timing and where you are on the beat. And what I did here was I didn't play any notes on the one of a measure, on the downbeat of a measure, whether it was landing at the ending or starting it. So what I'm talking about is if you have something 1, 2, 3, 4, normally you would start on the 1. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's how you would play something. I was only playing stuff on the end of 2 in this case, or the end of 1, excuse me. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now something like that, where it forces you to rethink some of the standard licks that you kind of play and even rethink your melodic sense because you just don't want to do that very natural tendency to land on the 1 or start on the 1. Let's look at example 3 now, and we'll come back and talk about that. had to turn the gain up here on my Kemper to talk about this one, because this one was probably obvious. You just noticed I wasn't using my right hand. It was just kind of hanging out there. I wasn't allowed to pick any notes. And I didn't want to do the tapping thing. That's obvious, and it's been done so many times. I just wanted to force myself to think only with my left hand. And what happens there is you just end up doing a lot of stuff on one string. That kind of thing. And it'll make you think more linearly and maybe break you out of playing in boxes and get you to think up and down, which is something I've talked about frequently. As far as its usefulness for playing on multiple strings, it's hard to do it without making noise and get the other notes to sound out, so it might help you build up some strength. Not that you're going to hammer notes that hard when you're playing naturally, but it can definitely be a strength type of exercise and perhaps make you rethink the kind of riffs you're doing. Trying to put them together in a way that includes slides and allow you to move more. And that might be something that you wouldn't have thought of previously if you're able to pick every note and you didn't have to rely on your left hand for strength. And that's what all these are about, is getting you to think in different ways and kind of doing that tongue twister type of thing with your brain while you're playing, where you're fighting against natural tendencies. And that's how you break out of your rut and go in new musical directions. So I hope you found these tips useful and they lead you to things that you wouldn't have thought of before. If it helps you create music that you wouldn't have done, and you're excited about hearing yourself play again, and you've rekindled the romance with your guitar, then the lesson succeeded. And if you come up with anything cool that you want to share, please leave it in the comments below. I always want to hear what kind of music you guys are doing. And if you have any questions or comments or anything you'd like me to cover further, leave that below as well, and I'll get back as soon as I can. And until next time, keep making great music. Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.